Hi there. It's the end of a rainy, wet day. Rosie and I are out for a walk. I'll take my mask off to talk to you. I just wanted to relate how things went. There's Rosie. We didn't have that many kiddos come by today because it was so rainy, period. And I stayed a little bit late after work to sort shoes. I know that when it's cold weather and wet weather, shoes get all wet and people will be asking for new shoes. Often we take the old shoes in and dry them, but because of Corona we won't be doing that. So we're gonna need shoes to be sure. But anyway, I stayed late until about 6. Nothing happens by accident in ministry, in my opinion. Just as I was leaving, a kiddo that I'd been thinking about for several days, haven't seen him in a while, came up and he was just in tears, almost anyway. He was some combination of frustration and anger and just stress and grief from the situation. I had him sit down on the tailgate of my truck and shared an orange that I had in my pocket with him. 6 foot distance, of course. And I suggested that he might feel better if I went and got him some food, and he agreed to that. And so I put a chair out in the alley so he could sit on the one thing that was dry outside. And I got him clothes because we have everything all sorted by size. And we have a new toilet in the neighborhood, but he really didn't want to leave. He wanted to keep talking, so I got a towel and he wrapped it around himself and he did the whole beach change thing in the alley and got all dry food. And I went in and microwaved some tomato soup we had today, so he had some hot food in him, and we talked. And he pretty quickly talked himself into realizing that even though he loves drugs because they help him be, I don't know, happy in an otherwise extremely unhappy situation, he also realizes that they're totally controlling him and contributing to his unhappiness now, and he wants to be sober. He doesn't know if he can do it alone. He thinks he lives in the wrong part of town. He thinks he has too many neighbors and friends who use drugs. But he wants to try, and I gave him 2 options. I gave him more than that. I reminded him that last fall he tried to go to rehab and that still could be a good option. But it didn't work at the time, at least for him. He got kicked out quickly because he didn't want to be there. And I told him that he could remove drugs, which is kind of what he's focused on, but that creates a vacuum, and unfortunately nature abhors a vacuum, and something comes in its place, and if he's not careful, it's one of the negative things that he's surrounded by, and he's no better off if not back in the same place. And the other way is to put good things in your life and push the drugs out. If you fill up your life with good things, there's no room for drugs in your life anymore. And he had a hard time imagining that, but I've known him for a minute, and he has told me several things that he wishes he could do one day, and I know and observe what his passions are, so I reminded him of the things he loves to do, and even though he can't imagine doing those right now, he did at least admit he does like them, and I reminded him of something that he wants to do one day, and again, he can't imagine doing that right now, but he's thinking about it. So anyway, and then a friend came by that he knows, and he shared with him that he wants to be sober, and his friend was very surprised. And I asked his friend to support him in sobriety, even if his friend isn't sober. And he committed they both committed to trying to support his sobriety movement. So we'll see what happens. And so he left with food, warm in hand, warm food in belly, dry clothes, and thinking on his own again. And that's what crisis intervention at Street Youth Ministry is all about. So nothing happens for accident. I stayed late, I guess, just so God could send him to me, and I'm very grateful. I'm also very grateful for those of you who watch these videos, for those of you who support the ministry, for those of you who get what we do. We have an army of ambassadors out there, and it's so important. It's so important that people keep telling the story of our awesome clients and what they do and what they can do. I can't wait to see what this kiddo does after he overcomes drugs and after he gets more education. I can't wait to see what he does, because he's so sharp and so bright and so clever, very funny, very smart, very articulate, and I can't wait. I just can't wait. And that's what we're about. He has a relationship with God. He's not sure about Christians. He's not sure about the Jesus thing. He just can't reconcile what he's been told with what he sees, and I fully understand that. But I also believe that he will be there in the cloud of witnesses one day. That's certainly my fervent prayer and hope. And I'm going to put my mask back on now and say goodbye. Say bye-bye, Rosie. Bye, y'all.